So I think we are live now, correct? Excellent. Thank you, Chris. For those of you joining us, sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues. And since this is our very important organizational meeting where board members do have the chance to vote for officers, we really wanted to get everyone on the line so that we could have a vote with the entire board. I would call for a consideration, a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Carlson and a second by Lokensgaard. We'll do roll call votes since we are doing this virtually. Dr. Soderlund?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Lokensgaard, aye.
Leonard, aye. Agenda is adopted. So item number 3, our first order of business, is to elect officers. We will be
In the microwave.
electing a chairperson, a vice chairperson, a clerk, and a treasurer. There are no seconds needed for nominations. Absentia go to the majority. Majority of votes needed for a candidate to win. So if there were 3 candidates vying for a position and the top candidate got 3, we would have to redo the vote because that is not 4, which is a majority of our 7-member board. As acting chair, or whoever the chair is, because the chair will be elected first, can, if only one person is nominated, can elect them via acclamation. So that's just a way to speed up. If we only have one nominee, it is legal to have the chair go ahead and call the race for that officer position for that lone nominee. And if there is more than one candidate for an officer position, we will do a roll call vote. And there's a couple ways to do that. The quickest and the cleanest way to do that is to just go through the entire board and do a roll call vote for your preferred candidate. So instead of just saying aye and voting for one and then another, we'll just do it all at once and we can tally the votes. And the chair does that, tallies the votes. So are there any questions before we move forward? With that, nominations are now in order for the office of chair.
This is Tracy Stewie. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to nominate John Carlson.
All right. John Carlson has been nominated for the office of chair. Are there any further nominations for the office of chair?
This is Dixon. I nominate Ben Leonard for chairperson.
Thank you. We have John Carlson and Ben Leonard nominated for the office of chair. Are there any other nominations for the office of chairperson? Are there any other nominations for the office of chairperson? Hearing no further nominations, I announce that nominations are closed for the chairperson. So now, like I said, we'll do a roll call vote, and board members should respond with their candidate that they are voting for the office of chair. So that would be John or Ben. Bill.
John Carlson.
Vicky,
Ben Leonard.
John,
John Carlson.
Drew,
Ben Leonard.
Tracy,
John Carlson.
Tim.
Well, it's an interesting position. Can I speak a little bit?
Yeah.
I would like to say that I respect both of the board members that are nominated, and both of them bring strengths to this board that are immeasurable. I have learned from both of them. I would like to say that it's very, well, just on a complete side note, I'm surprised. Okay, let me just put it this way. I find it encouraging that in the St. Peter School District, we have a great atmosphere of, we have public interest. We always have people that are running on school board. Every time that we have an election, there is a lot of interest in the area. And then on top of that, we have two individuals who want to be chairperson. Sometimes there's people that don't, or they can't find anybody who doesn't want to run or anything. With that being said, I feel like right now in the world, we have a pandemic going on. We have a superintendent, although very experienced, has been with the district for 6 months. And I think stability is what is needed at this time. So absolutely difficult decision, because both men are very good, but I'm going to vote for Ben Leonard.
Thank you, Tim. Well, we have hard votes on school board, and John, I commend you for running. I appreciate it. I appreciate you talking to me beforehand. That meant a lot to me. Your support and your leadership as treasurer and your long standing time on the board is really appreciated, and I'm very grateful for your service. This is a hard vote. Like Tim, I think that this is honestly it's a hard year, and it's a lousy year to learn to be board chair, and I can say that with more experience than anyone on this board of trying to learn how to be board chair in a pandemic year. I think if anyone is interested in any positions, they should absolutely run at any time. But let's talk about next year, and let's talk about next year before our organizational meeting next year. And I don't think I want to do this job long term. I don't think that I want to be on the board after this term. And I said that when I was running. I derive pleasure out of serving the board and serving the district and representing the administrators and our superintendent. This job of chair brings me no personal enjoyment. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I should have prepared something better, but I am going to cast a vote for myself, and I'm going to say that I'm not going to do this in 2022. So we've got a whole year to figure it out. If there are other people that are interested, let's get you involved now. And, you know, we have time, and hopefully we'll be dealing with less pandemic, and we'll have other things settled by then. So, but with that, I cast my vote for Ben Leonard. So I'm looking at my MSBA manual because that's the thing to do. I have called the roll call. So, oh, I'm sorry. Drew, I need to put you on the spot because the acting clerk tallies the votes, not the acting chair. That is my fault.
Got it. So do I need to read this to the record or just say, hey, we have a vote of 4-3 in favor of Ben Leonard for chairperson this year?
That is what you need to say for the record.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I'm honored that to be considered for chair, but we've had a good chair in Ben Leonard. He continues the tradition of great board chairs in St. Peter, and you know, I was honored, and it's something I would like to do someday. And but I have no problem with Ben being the chair at all. I think he does a great job, and he was my first text after I heard that someone might nominate me. So.
And I'd like to also say that I think there's two fabulous guys. I mean, it was hard for me to choose. The only reason I chose was after watching the organizational webcam that the Minnesota School Board Association had put out today. It had said that, you know, sometimes when you have a new chair and we have a new superintendent, which is new to just our district, but it's kind of nice to have them run a couple of years so that they've got that working relationship. And that was the only reason I decided on Ben. Otherwise, I think you two are both highly qualified. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. I know that I certainly don't want to think about my vote again. So the school board has spoken, and we move on as a group. Thank you. Nominations now in order for the office of vice chair.
And I nominate Tim Lokensgaard.
All right, Tim Lokensgaard has been nominated for the office of vice chair. Are there any further nominations for the office of vice chair? Are there any further nominations for the office of vice chair? Hearing no further nominations for the office of vice chair, I declare the nominations closed. Since Tim Lokensgaard is the only candidate nominated for the office of vice chair, I hereby declare him elected by acclamation and direct this so recorded in the minutes. Congratulations, Tim. Thank you for not speaking up and saying no, so I appreciate that.
No problem.
Nominations are now in order for the office of clerk.
I'll nominate Drew Dixon.
All right, Drew Dixon is nominated for the office of clerk. Are there any further nominations for the office of clerk? Are there any further nominations for the office of clerk? Hearing no further nominations, I declare them closed. Drew Dixon is the only candidate nominated for the office of clerk, and I hereby declare him elected by acclamation and direct it so recorded in the minutes. We'll move on to our last officer position, and that is treasurer. And I would like to nominate John Carlson. Do we have any more nominations for the office of treasurer? Do we have any more nominations for the office of treasurer? Hearing no further nominations for the office of officer of treasurer, I declare nominations closed. Since John Carlson is the only candidate nominated for the office of treasurer, I hereby declare him elected by acclamation and direct it so recorded in the minutes. With that, our officers are elected. Thank you very much for continuing to serve. I really appreciate that. We move on now to designate depositories. So we need to designate all of the depository institutions that we want to do business with. In 2020, those were First National Bank of St. Peter, Pioneer Bank of St. Peter, Hometown Bank of St. Peter, CCF Bank of St. Peter, US Bank of St. Paul, Wells Fargo, South Point Financial Credit Union, and MSDLAF, and that is the MSBA Investment Program. And I think Superintendent Gronseth will tell me that I misspoke, that potentially South Point Financial Credit Union was not on the list in 2020, and we were looking to add them in 2021.
That is correct.
Is there a motion to designate these depositories?
Chair Leonard, I move that we designate depositories of the First National Bank of St. Peter, Pioneer Bank of St. Peter, Hometown Bank of St. Peter, CCF Bank of St. Peter, US Bank of St. Paul, Wells Fargo, South Point Financial Credit Union, and the MSDLAF as our depositories.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lokenskard. Do we have a second?
Dixon, second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we'll do a roll call vote. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Lokenskard, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries unanimously. Move on to item number 5, which is designate the district's official newspaper. This has been probably since the 1850s, the St. Peter Herald. Would entertain a motion to designate our official newspaper.
Dixon, I move that we designate the St. Peter Herald our official newspaper.
Hager, I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Lokenskard, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we need to designate our auditor for the school district audit. For the past several years, this has been Abdo, Ike, and Myers, LLP. Anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we designate the auditor for the school district audit to be Abdu, Ike, and Myers, LLP.
Thank you,
Stewie will
Treasurer
second.
Carlson.
Oh, sorry, Stewie will second.
Thank you, Member Stewie. We have a motion and a second. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Lokenskard, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries unanimously. We need to designate the business manager or his designee to continue to make wire transfers for the school district. And this comes up every year, and people like to get paid they're on their paychecks, and we like to pay our bills, and this helps us do that in a timely manner.
I suppose as treasurer, I should designate business manager or his designee to continue to make wire transfers for the school district.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Hager, second.
We have a motion and a second. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
Carlson?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Wilkins-Card, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries. I am looking for a motion to designate the superintendent to approve non-resident student agreements, which is required by law that the district do.
I move that we designate our superintendent to approve non-resident student agreements. This is Dixon.
Wilkins-Card, second.
We have a motion and a second. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Wilkins-Card, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item of business for the organizational meeting is to set board salaries. We have not discussed any changes to the board salary. That would be for the members. The board chair has received $400 a month for a total of $4,800. The vice chair, $200 a month for a total of $2,400. The treasurer, $300 a month for a total of $3,600. The clerk, $250 a month for a total of $3,000, and each director, $200 a month for a total of $2,400. The negotiations committee, the last several years, has received a stipend of $100 a month for an additional $1,200 because we recognize the time commitment, which is far and above and beyond most other committees, that deserved a stipend. And we have also talked in the past few months about adding, and it would be my recommendation that we add a similar stipend of $100 per month for a total of $1,200 for the policy committee, because we have directed the policy committee to do a lot of work while transitioning to the MSBA policies, and that will require a lot of meetings as well. So I certainly think it's fair that we compensate those members similarly to the negotiations committee, but we can certainly discuss that.
I move accepting the board salaries, including the additional salary for members of the policy review committee.
Wilkins-Card, second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about that?
This is Tracy Stewie.
Tracy and then Bill.
Okay, thank you. I certainly don't I mean, obviously none of us do this for the money. I'm just curious if at some point, like, is this comparable to what other school districts are getting? And again, it's not really about the money as so much as I don't know how to say that, but like if you give something away, it seems like it doesn't have as much value. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I was just curious what other school districts are. And I'm not saying that we do anything different this year, but maybe next year it would be interesting to see where we stand in terms of what other districts our same size might be. That's my only observation.
Great. Bill, did you have a different question or a similar question?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. My position is that we do not add anything to the policy committee and that we just leave things as is.
Okay, so that would be different than the motion and the second.
I thought this was discussion.
Well, we had a motion and a second, and then we had discussion.
So my discussion is that I think at this point we should just leave things the way they are. And we're going up to ask for a referendum in the fall, and I feel really awkward about voting an increase or voting for a salary for ourselves. I think there's a conflict of interest there, but my position is I'm going to vote no on the increase.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could, I remember when we actually doubled our salaries probably about 7-8 years ago. We went from the lowest to the lowest, but not as low as we were before. So in the area, as far as school districts and salaries. So I'm comfortable with either proposal. I think the amount of work the policy review committee is going to be required to do this year, it might be something to look at next year to remove, but reading through what they've gone through already just for this meeting, as I will stick with my proposal.
Thank you, Treasurer Carlson. Superintendent Gronseth, did you had something to add to Member Stewie's question?
Yeah, I did take a look at board salaries that were listed from districts all over the state, and St. Peter really is pretty middle of the road, maybe even a little bit lower than middle of the road. And each district kind of has a different way of approaching it. Some of them have a per meeting payment, and others have a salary. And so when you look at comparable communities, we're pretty much right in the middle.
Yeah, having like Treasurer Carlson along and Vice Chair Lokensgaard, a long tenure on the board, I know that we did not want to pay ourselves per meeting because we're here to do the work required, and we're not here to get paid just to show up. Just from my perspective, for the public and other members, I think it's easy to look at this and say, well, why should you get paid at all? And when I ran, I didn't honestly know that we received money. None of us are here for the money. But to me, I want any individual in St. Peter to feel like they can run for the school board. I want this to be a very inclusive, democratic process. And, I'm in a position where I don't necessarily need this money to reimburse a babysitter or pay for gas or do those types of things. I also think that we have responsibilities above and beyond volunteers. I work with a lot of volunteers. Volunteers are incredible and they're very generous, but they have other things in their lives, and we tend to work with our volunteers around those things. We all had to be here tonight. We couldn't have chosen to be somewhere else. Vicki, you tried the hardest to be here tonight, and I appreciate that. And I think reflective of both of those things, these are positions that deserve to be compensated, even though it's, in the grand scheme of things, not an enormous amount of money. None of us are quitting our day jobs to just be school board members. So, is there further discussion? So I will call the vote on the motion to consider, I have lost it on my notes here, to set board salaries, including the negotiations committee stipend and the policy committee stipend, both of which are $1,200. We will do a roll call vote. Dr. Soderlund?
Soderlund, nay.
Vicki?
Hager, aye.
John,
Carlson, aye.
Drew,
Dixon, aye.
Tracy,
Stewie, aye.
Tim,
Lokenskar, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, identifying primary legal counsel. This has been Kennedy and Graven for as long as I can remember. It was also mentioned in our board packet that there are 3 individuals authorized to contact our legal counsel, and that is board chair, superintendent, and our HR admin, Atif.
Chair Leonard, I move that we identify our primary legal counsel as Kennedy and Graven, with the 3 individuals being the only ones who can contact them needed.
Hager, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do the roll call vote. Bill,
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky,
Hager, aye.
John,
Carlson, aye.
Drew,
Dixon, aye.
Tracy,
Stewie, aye.
Tim,
Lokenskar, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries. The next item is to set the day, time, and place of regular board meetings and study session. There was a proposed schedule. So if you look at the proposed schedule in your packets, I don't believe there are any drastic changes. We still have regular board meetings on the 3rd Monday. And I think we have study sessions primarily on the 1st Monday. Superintendent Grunset, I don't know if you have more to add to that.
No, it follows almost exactly the schedule that we have, knowing that things may change as we have needs that pop up, and we would be following, all the protocols to add meetings or move meetings as needed.
Excellent. I would also add that we do hope to be meeting in person, and when we go back to a hybrid model, we will look to resume our hybrid model of board meeting, which is both online and at the governor's room in the community center.
This is Dixon. I move we approve the set day, time, and place places of the regular board meetings and the study sessions as included in our board packet.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Stewie will second that.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Hager, I'm just excited to get back to face-to-face.
Yes. I'm excited to get back to face-to-face and no more talk of pandemic, but we got a ways to go for the last part. So with a motion and a second, we will do a roll call. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye.
Tim?
Lokenskar, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries. Our last item in the organizational meeting is to discuss committee appointments. And typically this has been on our organizational meeting agenda, and we have punted for the next month. And I want to honor that because we haven't had a discussion as a board. And I don't want to put you on the spot if you are uncomfortable with saying you don't want to be on a certain committee right now. But I can do this as a first reading. Superintendent Gronseth, is that okay? Or do we really do need to have some committees set?
I believe we have a couple of committee meetings this week. So policy committee, and I believe, yeah, calendar committee.
Excellent. Well, then it would probably be wise to try and set the calendar committee, the policy review committee, and potentially the negotiations committee, though we have no negotiations meetings coming up.
Chair Leonard?
Yeah.
I think since those committees, especially the policy review, has been preparing, I'm assuming, for those meetings, that we just follow the same roster and then allow you to change that before their next meetings.
I do.
Okay?
Yep.
Is that okay?
That absolutely is. I do have a roster of committees. I'm putting people on the spot, so I will read them. Well, how should we do that, Superintendent Gronseth?
Well, you can do it however you would like, actually. You know, if you want to go over them now, you can, or if you want to, over the course of this week, have some conversations with board members and set those, you can do that too, and we can just put those in place. I don't think it takes formal board action to make those committees. Generally, it's been the chair who sets those after conversations. So you don't need a formal action to do it.
Excellent. Great. Well, I will reach out and set those committees with special effort to set the calendar and policy committees ASAP.
I have a question, Chairperson Leonard.
Yeah.
Are you planning to alter what we're already doing with the committees that are?
Yeah. So apologies for these not being ahead of time, but the chair sets the committees. So we were voting on chair. So these thoughts that I had may or may not have mattered. I can give you a little bit of background on how I approached my work, and I will say that I don't think anyone should serve on a committee that they absolutely don't want to serve on. So we can be flexible. But as I was drawing it up, I wanted to try and balance the workload, try and balance each member having equal amounts of say. And I also looked at the policy committee and the negotiations committees being special stipend committees that are going to meet all of the time. It didn't seem like it was ideal to have someone serve on both of those. So those are the thoughts that I had. I will say that there is a lot of overlap from last year. I think that is good for continuity. It also makes moving all of these parts around a lot easier. So on this list that I will get out to board members, we've got each of us serving on 5 committees. I think I'm serving on 6, but I'm not on the negotiations or the policy committees. And everybody is chairing 2 committees, I believe, with the exception of Tim, and because of all the work that goes into the negotiations committee. So that was really my thought process, and I promised to get that out as soon as possible so we can set those committees and get to work. Does that make sense?
This is Hager. I just had a comment. With the pandemic and everything that's been going on, some of those committees that I have been on, we haven't even met. And so I just feel like I would like to have done something with some of those. So if we have a chance to be able to stay on a few of those, I think that would be great, because we really didn't get to meet.
Yeah, and I think that, while the pandemic is not over, we are less reactionary now than we were in the fall and in the spring. And so I think that all of our committees should get back to business when possible. So that's good encouragement for our entire slate of committees, I think.
Yes.
With that, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting with the idea that we would get back together in 5-ish minutes and start our regular board meeting.
This is Dixon.
I make a motion to. Go ahead, Drew.
Sorry. This is Dixon. I move to adjourn.
Hager, second.
We have a motion and a second. Bill?
Soderlund, aye.
Vicky?
Hager, aye.
John?
Carlson, aye.
Drew?
Dixon, aye.
Tracy?
Stewie, aye. Is it the same link? Are we just hanging out? Can somebody just tell me that before we disconnect?
Yes, it's the same link.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Tim?
Lokenskart, aye.
Leonard, aye. Motion carries. Let's come back to order with our regular meeting. Is 5 minutes enough for people? Do we need a little bit longer? All right, 5 minutes, which would be 7:30.